So we have the next session, which is Succeeding in the Age of Disruption. And yeah, I think I'll hand it over to you, to the Managing Trustee from Boston for Thai. And please, go ahead and introduce the panel and take it over from here.
Thank you. I'm here to introduce Mr. KRS Jamwal, who is the Executive Director of Tata Industries, a new venture arm of Tata Group. In his role, he's responsible for the ground-up building of new ventures within a large business house. He currently oversees a diverse portfolio that includes Tata Click, a one-of-a-kind phygital marketplace, which I'm assuming is physical and digital. Philsom, which manufactures flexible solar cells. Impreza Health Sciences, which offers therapeutic products aiming to restore the health and nutritional balance across age groups. Tata Class Edge, a smart digital classrooms product, and a platform technology-led food venture. Mr. Jamwal is also a turnaround expert, having successfully pivoted businesses such as Tata Advanced Material, which is now a leader in India in aerospace composite manufacturing. Over the years, Mr. Jamwal has supported the development of a strong relationship between Indian and Israeli innovation ecosystems. Tata Industries recently co-founded a fund focused on Israeli IoT startups in partnership with global leaders such as GE, Microsoft, Qualcomm, Pitango, and Tel Aviv University. Tata Industries is a lead investor in Momentum Fund, which invests in commercializing technologies developed at Tel Aviv University. Tata Industries is also a lead investor in Momentum Fund, the company is also a lead investor in a VC fund that focuses on early-stage Israeli and US startups and at the intersection of consumer, retail, and digital. Thank you, Mr. Jamwal. Welcome. And Mr. Yossi Vardi, most of you know, he is known as the Godfather of Israel tech industries. And when I asked him for his introduction, he said he was awarded in 2010, he was awarded by the largest circulated newspaper as the worst dressed individual. Welcome. Quickly, he believes all entrepreneurs should be their own judge and not let anyone judge you. And he's the most pro-entrepreneur kind of an investor and a mentor and an expert in the field. So welcome, and over to you guys. Thank you.
Welcome, Yossi. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. And, you know, the long introduction is for people who've not done much, and the short introduction is for people who've done a lot. So it's a pleasure.
I'm not sure about that, but thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here. You know, a couple of days ago, Yossi, there was a very nice interview of you in LiveMint, and I must say it gave some very good advice to entrepreneurs. If you don't mind, I'm going to take the investor point of view and pick your brains in the first session, and I've broken this up in my mind into three parts. I won't let the audience know what the three parts are, but the first part is, what's your advice to investors in terms of what are the most important things you look at? You've made 90-odd investments. That's huge, and you have a phenomenal track record. What are the most important things? Is it business plan? Is it idea? Is it product? Is it the people?
Good, good. I like the question very much. You know, we worked very hard, like 3 hours, to make it a spontaneous session, so it's a very good question. Well, first of all, I want to qualify one thing. I've done, in the internet sector, I've done 86 investment. I've done some 32 exits, which made me, without being too humble, one of the best angels in Israel. I also closed in a very embarrassing or idiotic circumstances another 30 companies, which make me the worst angel investor in Israel. And so my record is mixed, you know, so I want just to straighten it. And it's very important for investors to recognize and to accept the fact that it's impossible to have a record that only successes. The only way to have only success, to avoid failures is not to do anything. If you don't do anything, you have no failures. And if you want to be a good investor, you have to come to grips with the idea that part of the cost of doing business is to have failures. If you don't have failures, it means that your investments are not volatile enough, and this means that you will never be able to have a very good exit which will compensate for all your losses. This is why every time I'm being introduced as if I had a wonderful record, I immediately emphasize my failures, not to impress your people, you people that I'm very humble, but in order to enable me to come into grips with the phenomena that you have losses. All the investors in the room, would you please raise your hand? All the investors in the room which never had any failure, would you please keep your hands up? Okay, so that's the point. You have to know that this is part of the game. Now, about my investment criteria. First of all, I don't attribute any, or let me rephrase it. When I was younger in my investment career, I made my first company in '69. Who in the audience was alive already in '69? Raise your hand. Okay, so most of you were either in liquid form or even not in that form in '69. So in the beginning, I thought that ideas are not very important. And as I grew old, I realized that ideas are not important at all. On the contrary, sometimes you fell in love with an idea, and as we know, love is blind, and you make mistakes. And why ideas are not important? Because you take any idea, you select an idea, manufacturing car, making, I don't know, e-commerce, whatever you want, you have few successes and you have many failures in the very same idea. So it's not about ideas, it's about execution. This is very important to understand. Because I don't believe in ideas, I also very suspicious regarding business plans. I don't read business plans. I refuse to read business plans. As far as I'm concerned, business plans is a subgenre in science fiction, and this is a numerical science fiction. And the common thing to business plan and sausages is that only people who don't know how they are being made are willing to consume them. So what is left? So ideas are over, business plans are over. What I believe is in the quality of the team. The quality of the team is the main criteria. And a good team consists of 4 qualities. In the rehearsal, I told you 3, but I now will throw a 4th one. This is a spontaneous discussion, as I told you. I will throw another one, like you pay for 3, you get 4. So number 1, talent. Talent and talent and talent. Talent is the most important thing. I have a long story, we don't have time, how I came into this epiphany. It took me like 54 years to arrive it, but if you see a talented guy, invest in him. You don't have to hear his idea. Just go and give him check and tell him, come to me when you have the idea. Second thing, he has to be passionate. Passion, especially in startup, passion is the fuel which drive startup. This and talent are the 2 most important ingredients. The third one, which is not necessary, but it helps a lot, that the people will have good virtues, that they will be nice people, especially as you grow old and you invest in more startups, you want the people to be nice. When I was very active in distributing checks to young talented people, my wife told me it's impossible that every kid that come to our home is talking to you 5 minutes and go away with check, and many times they don't get anything. I told you I lost 30 of them. So I always told my wife, you know, we can afford it, and if he doesn't come with a good exit, at least regard it as if we gave him a scholarship, extended scholarship to exercise his dream. But who want to give scholarship to assholes, you know? So you want them to be nice people, so at least you feel, I am dead serious, and these guys are laughing. It's probably because of my accent or something like this.
No,
So-
Yossi, it's because you are saying things which are really good.
So you want them to be nice. Also, 1/3 of startups in their first year fall apart because the entrepreneurs don't get along with each other. So if you take nice people which can get along with each other, you increase your success rate. And the fourth one, I have to apologize for the long answer. You know, I have to tell you something. I was invited once to Toronto to give a Q&A session. So the interviewer asked me one question. I answered it for 1 hour and 42 minutes, and that was over. The session was over. So I will stop here. The fourth one, I will tell you the next time I come to India.
Okay. First of all, there's no long answer. I think it's a fascinating answer. Thank you. And by the way, I'm not sure that people realize what he's saying is equally relevant to anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur. In fact, there are very strong lessons there for an entrepreneur. Be passionate about it, be a good human being, and of course, have the right talent. I love that. But going on, give us a sense of using these rules. What are the 2 or 3 investments that stay in your mind as wonderful investments?
Okay, first of all, I want to make one thing very clear. I like the term you use, wonderful investment. You didn't say profitable, you didn't say successful, you said wonderful. And wonderful has to do with the emotion. It has to do with the feeling. It has to do at the end of the ride, whether you succeeded or you failed, you get a very good feeling about it, and you will be surprised, but sometimes you can get a great feeling from an investment which didn't do financially well. So in my experience, you know, I've done like 86 in the internet, maybe 40 before the internet in my former incarnation. In the internet, of course, my claim to fame, which I really got into it totally by coincidence. I didn't understand what I'm doing, was ICQ. Anyone here heard about ICQ? Raise your hand. Anybody didn't hear about ICQ? Raise your hand. So it goes like this: about 15% heard about ICQ, 5% didn't hear about ICQ, and the other 80% are asking themselves what this guy wants from our life.
It was the first P2P messaging service, absolutely the first. And I remember when it first came out, we were all delighted. What maybe 10 years ago you felt about Facebook, my generation felt about ICQ.
It was the first internet-wide instant messaging, and me and the 4 young developers, which I funded, can have the claim that, like making a paraphrase about Rothschild, said never in the history of mankind so few people have done to so many people the benefit of killing their productivity. And it was, for me, it was my first move into the internet, and I learned through it the whole thing about internet viral marketing, etc. You know, before that I used to do conventional investment, that you have to do marketing and you have to have salespeople, etc. And here you were sitting like this and watching the number and being amazed that every day 100,000 people came to download it. I know this is India and you are not impressed by 100,000 people, You know, I see the pictures of the trains in India, so this is not impressive. But for us, 100,000 people is a lot. By the way, I want to mention here that Israel and India together have 20% of the world population. We are 8.5 million people, you know. So ICQ was the first one. I want to talk about a company which I lost the money, and still I think it was a wonderful ride. You know, things can end sadly, but it still can be wonderful. And this is a company which two talented Israelis worked really very hard. They were unable to make a viable product, but they really were very passionate about it. After the money was exhausted, they spent another 2 years of their life just without salary, just trying to keep it going. I tried to convince them to leave it. They objected, and I told them, look, you don't have too many 2 years of your life to spend, but they really, you know, they hanged into it, and when we talk about passion, they were very passionate. I wrote to them, I wrote to them letter when they threw the towel and told me, Yossi, we closed the thing with tears in their eyes. I sent them an email that, as far as I'm concerned, this was one of my best investments. And then they came to me and asked me, how can you say it on a company which lost? I told them, I don't measure the result, I measure the input, because you guys are responsible for the input. The result, you know, there is something which has to do with you, but a lot of external thing, like somebody else is competing, etc. So this can also be a nice ride, and I think it's very important for seasoned investment. Not important, we have a responsibility to make sure that these people will not lose their confidence, even if the company is not doing well, if they are great people. And we know many cases where people who didn't succeed in the first time succeeded in the second time. The moral of the story, if you are first-time investor, find an investor who is idiot enough to find you the second time that you are trying if you lose on the first time.
That's brilliant, Yossi, and I admire your goodness in doing that.
There are mixed feeling about my goodness, but this relates to another discussion.
Now that you've let the cat out of the bag about this being an impromptu conversation, let me say that I found what you said about how you invest as a super angel or as an angel very different, including what you told me about the fact that you don't take a seat on the board. Tell us more.
First of all, you disclosed to them that we prepared all these things. You know, you shouldn't say what you told me, but okay. Yeah, no, I must tell you one thing, excuse me for saying it. I am doing very often talk, I enjoy it. You know, my middle son always say that if I see a microphone painted on the wall, I will go to the painting and will begin to talk to it. But I never met anybody who was so prepared and invested so much to make sure that the question and answers will be relevant and interesting, etc.
My pleasure.
So yes, we discuss it, and again, until about 2004, when I invested, I tried to be involved in every detail. I was sitting behind the back of the young entrepreneurs. Everything they have done, I told them how to do it better. This is, by the way, an Israeli property. We know how everything else has to do the things much better than he's doing. You know, Ben-Gurion, which was the creator of the state, complained that he had 2.5 million prime ministers in Israel because every citizen knew how he should run the country better than him. And then when I began to see the statistics, I began to see that some of the companies which I was on the board didn't succeed. So I asked myself, at that time I gained enough self-confidence, and I asked myself, what is the real added value which I bring to the companies to the young people other than my checks. And I came to the conclusion, if I invest in them because of their talent, why the next day I'm trying to castrate them? Doesn't make any sense. So I went away from all the boards, from all the advisory boards, and I started to invest. I told them, this is the check. This is my telephone number. I give you my telephone number, so in case you have any difficulty, you need money, you need marketing, you need introduction, don't call this number because I'm not going to help you. If I wanted to help you, I would create a company and run it myself. And I must tell you, the statistics stay the same. So you should let these guys run and do what they do, and they will do it differently than what you think, but not necessarily they will do it less good. I think that's very nice of you that you are applauding all the time. Who is here? Can you invite me next year to come again? I would love to do it. The seasoned people, I think, can bring some perspective in things like negotiations. You know, there are some things where experience and doing many times give an advantage, but creating a new product is not one of them. You know, so you should limit yourself to where experience is very good. A good friend of mine is a brain surgeon, and he told me if I will give him a gorilla and he will be able to teach him to do 1,000 brain surgery, he will be an excellent brain surgeon. I'm not sure this is true, but startups are not brain surgeons, so you should let it to the new, fresh mind to see the world from a total new, different way, in new eyes, to run the show. This is my experience.
So I just want to take this opportunity. It's a very, very charming panel, but you have about 10 minutes to go. So yeah.
We should keep at least 5 minutes for Q&A.
Yes, please.
And we'll probably finish it before the first question is asked. Okay, I want to move on to the second sort of sub-segment. You know, a lot of corporations today are wondering what to do, how to engage with the startup world, how to handle this pace of transformation. And of course, you have many big corporations advising other corporations on how they should handle it. As a person who's seen the startup world, is there any advice you would give to big companies? What should they do about disruption? How should they handle disruption?
Yeah, the whole relationship between large companies and small companies is very, very interesting topic. I think the whole world is fascinated about it. You see a lot of activities, and if we look at small companies like bacteria and the big companies like big organisms, the symbiosis of these two totally different organisms is very important. What startups are able to do to be agile and to be fast and to see the world through a fresh eye and to come with no preconceived ideas and to bring the enthusiasm and to bring new ideas and innovation, the big companies find it difficult. On the other hand, the big companies can bring stability, can bring finance, can bring worldwide sales offices and network. They can bring season management. They can bring what we call parental guidance and adult supervision to the small companies. So the combination is very important. Until 10 years ago, roughly 10 years ago, the paradigm of the big company was NIH, not invented here. I would go to a big company and I tell them I have an idea. They will ask me how many people you are. I will say 4. They say go away. We have more. We have 200 engineers, 2,000 engineers, 20,000 engineers. We don't need you. And this was forever until companies like Google and Facebook and Amazon came and pulled the rug from under the old established companies, and then the NIH was replaced by a new paradigm which is called FOMO, fear of missing out. So the joint collaboration of big companies and small companies is very important for both parties. Now there are a number of models of how to do it. Some people are doing it with accelerators where the large companies are investing. The problem is that if a large company buys a small company, it's becoming a very strange creature. It's a small company which is trying to have large company culture, and this doesn't work. So when they combine, they have to let the small company run their own culture, and this can be done, as I said, by accelerators, by alliance, by strategic alliance, by creating what is called labs, by creating kind of natural reserve within the big companies where the small companies can run and do things with their culture thing. The culture is very important. Usually people count the number of people, so they count the customers, they count the users. The most important thing is the culture of the small company.
Fascinating. Okay, this is going to be my last question, so just audience, get your questions sorted in your head. You know, Yossi, you told me when we were sitting over lunch and preparing furiously for this impromptu session, I asked you, Israel has done a great job in semiconductors, Israel does very well in hardware technologies, and you told me India's opportunities are totally different. And I really liked your perspective, so I want you to share that with the audience. What should India be the leader in the next 10 years?
Okay. First of all, I have to qualify, you know, I'm far from being an expert on Indian affairs. So what I'm saying from 30,000 feet high as an observer what's going on in the world. And if you would ask me what is the opportunity of India, I will ask myself what are, first of all, the best foot, you know, where India is doing things that other people find it very difficult and it come more natural to India. And I will ask myself where the world is going and try to see how India can fit into it. So I will try to dare and give the answer from that perspective, but I'm not trying to position myself as an expert in India. Anybody who follow the Indian industrial scene is aware and sometimes amazed by the capacity of the Indian industry to create huge, complicated software job, which is very difficult task. You know, to get hundreds or even thousands of people to work on a software job, to get everything coordinated, to have the discipline that everything will fit into each other, very few people can do it. If you go into the Western world and you ask yourself which are the companies which were able to do it in a large scale, you will get SAP maybe, Oracle maybe, IBM, maybe 10, maybe less than 10. In India you have great concentration, and I believe again that it's based on some kind of the culture of the Indian society about discipline, about responsibility, I don't know. Another thing, which when I was a young guy, I hope it's still preserved, Indians were known to be extremely great mathematicians. So we have ability to create great software, we have mathematics, and this gives, when you start with this, the answer is becoming very obvious. Now you have to ask yourself which of the new industry, the new emerging industries, will need this capacity. One answer comes immediately to mind that this is health, because everybody agrees that health will be based from now on data. Health until today was kind of black magic. You know, you need a personal, you need a doctor to look at you, to tell you to say, look in your mouth, look in your ear, and has to come with diagnostic. Today, you begin to see algorithms which look on your vital signs, you know, your blood, and looking on minute changes and able to not only to diagnose you, but also to to give you an estimation, you know, how long you are going to live. We heard about these things also. So big health system. You take the thing. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has to do with a lot of software, with huge data, and while it was possible but not economical, today with the cost of processing, etc., it's becoming feasible and economic. So I think India can be a great player in this thing, and you can take industry by industry, of course, big data mining, the analytics, all these things I think can become a terrific industry for India, that where India will not be a me too, but can be the world leader. And India should ask themselves where we can leave everybody behind us. We make a leapfrog and then everybody will go after us. I think the answer is more or less in those domains.
Fantastic. That's a very upbeat one.
So I have a kind request, please. Maybe we can do the Q&A, one-on-one outside, because the next speaker is waiting. Is that okay?
Sure, whatever you want.
And it's really tough to...
If the audience is really keen on any questions, Yossi is here.
No, there'll be tons of questions.
I'm saying Yossi is here for the evening, so they can catch him after the session.
Absolutely, because it's tough to interrupt someone who's called the Godfather of anything, but then I'm really sorry, because the next speakers are here, and you're around, so they can catch up with you outside.
Thank you
very, very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Just a moment. Thank you so very much. This was fantastic. Thank you so much.